Picture this. You're standing in the doorway of your childhood home on Christmas Eve, snow falling while your father hurls your wrapped gifts into the freezing darkness. "Get out of my house," he screams as 15 relatives watch. Your golden child brother starts slow clapping. Your mother turns away. The neighbors are staring through their windows. What would you do in that moment? Walk away forever or play the card you've been holding for 3 years? My name is Emily Carter. I'm 30 years old. And this is the story of how the worst Christmas Eve of my life became the most expensive lesson my family ever learned about property law, hidden ownership, and what happens when you mistake the landlord for a beggar. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. For 8 years, I sent $3,500 home every month like clockwork. Direct deposit first of the month, never missed once. The money covered Mom's medical bills, Dad's retirement gap, and Nathan's temporary setbacks that somehow became permanent. I have the bank statements, 96 consecutive transfers totaling $336,000. But here's the thing about being the invisible daughter. Your contributions become someone else's story. Every family dinner, Dad would raise his glass to Nathan. "Thank God for our son's support," he'd say, while Nathan would nod modestly, accepting praise for money he never sent. Mom's thank you cards went to Nathan's apartment. The one she sent after her hip surgery, a $45,000 bill I covered entirely, sits in my desk drawer. "Dearest Nathan, your generosity saved us." I kept every receipt, every cleared check, every wire transfer confirmation. Not out of spite, but out of habit. As a principal architect, documentation is second nature. Buildings don't stand on good intentions. They need proof of every beam, every joint, every foundation stone. I applied the same principle to family finances. The truth would surface eventually, I told myself. Truth always does. What I didn't expect was that when it finally emerged, it would arrive with police sirens and eviction notices. But I'm getting ahead of myself. To understand how we got to that Christmas Eve, you need to know exactly what kind of family dynamic we're talking about. The kind where one child's promotion to principal architect with a $180,000 salary gets mentioned as an afterthought, while the other child's vague promises about startup funding get standing ovations. Thanksgiving 2024 should have been my warning. Nathan held court at the dinner table, spinning tales about his startup's imminent breakthrough. $5 million in Series B funding, he claimed. Japanese investors fighting over equity stakes, IPO by Q3 2025. Our aunts and uncles hung on every word, while Dad beamed like Nathan had just cured cancer. "My brilliant son," Dad announced to the room of 15 relatives, his hand on Nathan's shoulder. "Future of the family right here." Then, almost as an afterthought, he glanced my way. "Oh, and Emily also has a job. Also has a job." That's how you describe someone making $180,000 a year designing the new Portland Innovation District, someone whose firm just won the contract for the riverfront redevelopment project worth $50 million, someone who 3 weeks earlier became the youngest principal architect in company history. Cousin Laura asked what I did. Before I could answer, Nathan jumped in. "She draws buildings or something." Anyway, about our expansion into Asian markets. I excused myself to help Mom in the kitchen. She was struggling with the turkey platter, her arthritis acting up again. The medication that helped, the one costing $800 a month that I'd been paying for since 2019, seemed to be working less lately. "Your brother's doing so well," she said. not looking at me, taking care of everyone. At 30 years old, designing million-dollar buildings, yet still Emily also has a job at family dinners. I wondered what it would take for them to see me, really see me. In 17 days, I'd have my answer, and they'd see more than they bargained for. December 20th, Nathan called me at work. His voice had that familiar edge, the one that meant he needed money, but would frame it as me helping the family. Emily, we need to talk about the house situation. The house situation. That's what he called being $500,000 in debt with 3 investors pulling out and 2 lawsuits pending. His startup, supposedly worth millions last month, was hemorrhaging money faster than a severed artery. I need you to co-sign some paperwork, he continued. Just a formality. We're using Mom and Dad's house as collateral for a bridge loan. Mom and Dad's house, the Victorian on Pine Street. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, original hardwood floors. Worth $2.8 million in today's market. The house where we grew up, the house Dad lost to the bank in 2021 due to a gambling debt he still won't admit existed. Send me the documents, I said, knowing exactly what I'd find. The email arrived within minutes. Loan application for $500,000. My signature required as family co-guarantor. The collateral, 128 Pine Street, Portland, OR. Property owners, David and Karen Carter. Except David and Karen Carter hadn't owned that property for 3 years. I opened my office safe and pulled out a folder marked Sapphire Property LLC. Inside a deed of sale, dated July 15, 2021. Purchase price $1.4 million. Buyer Sapphire Property LLC. Sole member Emily Carter. The house they wanted to mortgage had my name on it since July 2021. They just didn't know it yet. Family helps family. Dad would say he was right. I'd been helping all along, just not in the way they thought. December 23rd, the manipulation intensified. Mom texted me at 6 a.m. Please help your brother, sweetheart. He's the only one looking after us. By noon, I had 17 messages from various family members. Aunt Victoria called me selfish. Uncle Michael said I was betraying family values. Cousin Jason, who borrowed $5,000 from me in 2020 and never paid it back, lectured me about loyalty. Nathan had been busy. He'd told everyone I was sitting on savings while refusing to help save the family home. The narrative was perfect. Successful sister watches as generous brother loses everything trying to support aging parents. What Nathan didn't mention, the aging parents he was supposedly supporting, hadn't received a cent from him in 5 years. The medical bills, the property taxes, the home repairs, all came from my selfish bank account. That evening, Mom called. 15 people are coming for Christmas Eve dinner tomorrow. Please don't make a scene. Just sign the papers for family unity. Family unity. The kind where one person pays and another takes credit. The kind where truth is less important than appearance. I sat in my downtown condo looking at the property deed in my hands. Sapphire Property LLC. Formed in 2021 when I realized Dad's gambling would cost them everything. The bank had foreclosed. The auction was set. I bought it through the LLC and let them move back in, telling them a private investor had purchased it and would rent to them for $1 a year. 3 years of protecting them from the truth. 3 years of being their secret safety net. Tomorrow the net would be pulled away, but not by me, by their own hands. If you've ever been the family scapegoat who secretly held all the cards, hit that subscribe button. I'm curious, what would you have done in my position? Let me know in the comments. Now let's get to the Christmas Eve showdown. that changed everything. 7:30 p.m. Christmas Eve. The house glowed with string lights and false cheer. 15 relatives packed into the living room, champagne flowing. Nathan holding court by the fireplace. I arrived with my usual contribution, a honey-glazed ham and 2 bottles of wine, which Mom immediately credited to Nathan's thoughtfulness. Dad didn't waste time. The moment I set down my coat, he produced the loan documents. "Emily, we need this signed tonight." His voice carried across the room intentionally loud. Before the banks closed for the holiday, every conversation stopped. 15 pairs of eyes turned to me. "What documents?" Aunt Victoria asked. "Just family business," Nathan said smoothly. "Emily's helping with some paperwork." I picked up the papers, scanning them slowly. "This requires me to guarantee $500,000. "It's just a formality," Dad insisted. "The house is collateral." "I can't sign what I don't own," I said quietly. The room went silent. Dad's face flushed red. "You don't own, this is our family home." Nathan stepped forward. "Stop being difficult, Emily. Sign the papers. I can't use your house as collateral, Dad." "My house?" His voice rose. "This is my house. You're just a guest here, an ungrateful guest who won't help her family." I pulled out my phone, activating the video recording. "Say that again, Dad, for clarity." He obliged louder this time. "This is my house, and if you won't help this family, you can get out." The record button glowed red. Every word captured, every witness visible in frame. The pile-on began immediately. Nathan, sensing blood in the water, went for maximum damage. "She makes $180,000 a year and won't help," he announced to the room. "Meanwhile, I've been supporting Mom and Dad for years." "How selfish, Emily," Aunt Victoria chimed in. "After everything your parents did for you." "You're a disappointment," Dad said, his voice cold. 28 years of private schools, college tuition, and this is how you repay us?" Uncle Michael shook his head. "Nathan would never act this way." "Nathan is a real son," someone whispered. 15 people staring, judging, waiting for me to break, to sign, to surrender like I always did. Mom stood in the corner, silent, avoiding eye contact. I kept recording. My phone captured everything. The sneers, the accusations, Nathan's smug smile, as he basked in their approval. 3 years of paying their bills in secret, and this was my thanks. The ungrateful daughter, the selfish sister, the family disappointment. "Well," Dad demanded, "are you going to sign or not?" "No," I said simply. Nathan laughed. "Of course not. Emily only cares about herself." "That's rich," I said, still recording, "coming from someone who hasn't contributed a cent to this household since 2019. "Liar," Nathan shouted. "I pay for everything, everything." I kept my voice level. "Name one bill you've paid, just one." He faltered. "Mom knows what I contribute." Mom looked away. I was recording everything, every single word. The video would matter later. Not for revenge, but for evidence. For the police report I'd be filing in exactly 93 minutes. Dad moved first. He grabbed the presents I'd brought, carefully wrapped gifts for each family member, and hurled them through the open door into the snow. "Get out of my house," he roared. "Get out before I call the cops." Nathan started slow clapping. Dad finally grew a spine. The relatives joined in, 15 people applauding my humiliation. Mom turned toward the kitchen, unable to watch but unwilling to intervene. I stood up slowly, pocketing my phone. The recording was saved to the cloud. 47 minutes of pure evidence. I picked up my coat with deliberate calm. "Gladly," I said, looking Dad straight in the eye. "Absolutely gladly." "Don't come back," Nathan shouted. Ever. Oh, I'll be back, I said, pulling on my gloves. Just not in the way you think. Walking to the door, I passed the family photos on the mantle. Nathan's graduation, Nathan's awards, Nathan's everything. Not a single photo of me, despite graduating summa cum laude, despite the architecture awards, despite everything I'd achieved. I stepped into the cold Portland night. Snow fell on my shoulders as I walked to my car. My gifts scattered across the lawn like broken promises. Behind me, laughter erupted from the house. They were celebrating. I pulled out my phone and made 2 calls. First to Sophia, my attorney. Sophia, yes, it's time. Execute the eviction notice on Christmas Eve. She asked. That's cold, Emily. They just threw me out on camera with 15 witnesses. Perfect. 4th violation. I'll call the police now. The second call was simpler. 911. I need to report trespassers at 128 Pine Street. I'm the property owner and they're refusing to leave. Let me take you back to 2021. Dad had been gambling for years, but that summer it spiraled. Poker games became poker debts. Debts became liens. By July, the bank foreclosed on 128 Pine Street. I found out through a routine credit check. My parents' home was scheduled for auction in 2 weeks. $400,000 in gambling debts, all hidden from Mom, all destroying their future. I could have confronted him, could have staged an intervention. Instead, I did what I do best. I solved the problem quietly. Sapphire Property LLC was formed on July 10, 2021. 5 days later, I attended the foreclosure auction with a cashier's check for $1.4 million. The other bidders were flippers looking for profit. I was a daughter looking to protect her parents, even if they'd never protected me. The deed was transferred to Sapphire Property LLC on July 20th. That same day, I had Sophia draft a lease agreement, $1 per year, renewable annually, with one crucial provision. Lease may be terminated immediately upon violation of mutual respect clause, defined as verbal abuse, defamation, or hostile actions toward any family member. I told my parents a private investor had purchased the house and would rent it back to them for virtually nothing. Dad never questioned it. His pride wouldn't let him dig deeper into his good fortune. For 3 years, I let them live in my house, while they credited Nathan for keeping them afloat. Every property tax bill, every repair, every insurance payment came from Sapphire Property LLC. From me, the deed of sale, the LLC documents, the lease agreement, all waiting in my safe. Tonight, they'd finally see the light. The lease agreement was a masterpiece of legal foresight. Sophia had insisted on the mutual respect clause after hearing about my family dynamics. Emily, you need protection, she'd said. Financial abuse is still abuse. Page 3, Section 7. Violations of mutual respect include, but are not limited to verbal aggression, public humiliation, false accusations, or defamatory statements. First violation, written warning. Second, formal notice. Third, final warning. Fourth, immediate termination with 24-hour evacuation notice. I'd already issued 3 warnings, all properly documented. First, August 2022, when Dad called me a failure as a daughter at Mom's birthday party. Email sent, delivery confirmed. Second, March 2023, when Nathan told my colleagues I was mentally unstable at a professional networking event. Certified letter signature required. Third, November 2024. Thanksgiving dinner when Dad announced I was a disappointment to the Carter name. Written notice hand-delivered by process server. Sophia had everything ready since November. The eviction notice was pre-signed, requiring only the 4th violation to activate. The police liaison was briefed. The locksmith was on call. "You're playing a long game," Sophia had observed. "I'm not playing," I'd replied. "I'm just prepared." The video from tonight would serve as Exhibit D, the fourth and final violation. Throwing me out, calling me ungrateful. The public humiliation before 15 witnesses, all captured in 4K resolution with clear audio. The beautiful irony, Dad screaming, "Get out of my house," when it hadn't been his house for 3 years. The law doesn't care about your delusions. Property records don't lie. And contracts, especially ones drafted by Sophia Lee, are bulletproof. Fourth violation triggers immediate termination. Those were the terms, their terms, signed willingly. I sat in my Tesla in the snow-covered street, heater running, watching the warm glow from the house. Through the windows, I could see them laughing, toasting, celebrating my exile. Mrs. Smith from next door was walking her dog. She stopped when she saw me. "Emily, why are you out here, dear? It's Christmas Eve." "Family disagreement," I said simply. She looked at the gifts scattered in the snow, her face hardening. "David did this." I nodded. "That man." She shook her head. "After everything you've done for them, I know it's you paying their bills, dear." The mailman talks. Inside, Nathan's voice boomed. Another toast to himself. No doubt, another story about his success while spending my money. "Don't come back." Nathan had shouted from the doorway, making sure the whole neighborhood heard. "You're not welcome here anymore." "She never was welcome," Dad added. "Should have kicked her out years ago." I started the car and drove away slowly. In my rearview mirror, Mrs. Smith was taking photos of the scattered gifts in the snow. Evidence has a way of accumulating when you're in the right. At 9:15 p.m., I pulled into a Starbucks parking lot and called 911. 911, what's your emergency? I need to report trespassers at a 128 Pine Street. I'm the property owner. There are approximately 15 people refusing to leave my property after being served proper eviction notice. Are you in immediate danger? No, I've left the property for my safety, but they're still there throwing parties, and I have video evidence of them destroying my belongings and threatening me. We'll dispatch units immediately. Can you meet officers at the property? I'll be there in 20 minutes. Back at 128 Pine Street, the party continued in full swing. Nathan had opened the bottle of champagne I'd brought, a $200 bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion. Well, this would certainly qualify. Finally, free of that burden, Dad announced, raising his glass. 28 years of disappointment gone. She'll come crawling back, Aunt Victoria predicted. They always do. Not this time, Nathan said confidently. I made sure everyone knows what kind of person she really is. Selfish, greedy, heartless. Mom stood by the window, staring out at the snow. She hadn't moved in 10 minutes, hadn't touched her. Champagne hadn't joined the celebration. Karen, come toast, Dad called to her. I'm watching for carolers, she said quietly. But she wasn't watching for carolers. She was watching the street. Perhaps wondering if her daughter was still out there in the cold, or perhaps knowing something the others didn't. You know what the best part is? Nathan laughed. She actually thought she was important, like we needed her. We never needed her, Dad agreed. I built this family. I bought this house. I provided everything. The lies came so easily to them. 3 years of living in my house, and they'd rewritten history completely. Dad the provider, Nathan the supporter, Emily the ungrateful leech. They were celebrating in my house using my champagne, toasting my exile with property I'd saved from their recklessness. At 9:43 p.m., Blue and red lights began reflecting off the snow outside. Mom saw them first. "David," she said, her voice strange. "The police are here." Dad smiled. "Good. They must have found her, probably arrested her for harassment." The doorbell rang at 9:47 p.m. exactly. Dad strode to the door with the confidence of a man about to watch his enemy fall. He yanked it open with a satisfied smile. "Officers, thank God you're here. My daughter has been harassing us." "And Mr. Carter?" The lead officer, Detective Lisa Grant, according to her badge, interrupted him. "Mr. David Carter." "Yes, that's me. Did you arrest her already?" "Sir, we're here about the illegal occupancy of this property." Dad's smile faltered. "Illegal? What?" "We have an eviction notice for this address. The property owner has reported trespassers. There must be a mistake." Dad laughed nervously. "I own this house. I've owned it for 30 years. Detective Grant checked her tablet. According to county records, this property is owned by Sapphire Property LLC. Has been since July 2021. The color drained from Dad's face. Behind him, the party had gone silent. 15 people straining to hear. "That's impossible. Check again." "Sir, we've verified the records. The owner, Ms. Emily Carter, has provided documentation of lease violations and has requested immediate enforcement of the eviction notice." Nathan pushed past Dad. "This is fraud. She's lying." Detective Grant looked unmoved. "Sir, I need everyone to step outside while we verify documents." "We're not going anywhere," Dad shouted. "This is my house, sir." Detective Grant's voice carried authority. "You can step outside voluntarily, or we can escalate the situation. Your choice." Mom appeared in the doorway, her face pale but unsurprised. "David, just do what they say." "Karen, they're saying Emily owns our house." Mom looked him straight in the eye. "I know." The silence that followed was deafening. The look on his face when he realized priceless. If you think toxic families never face consequences, you need to see what happens next. Drop a comment about your own family boundary victories, and remember to like this video if you believe in karma. Now, for the moment, everything flipped. Detective Grant held up her tablet, displaying the official county record. Sapphire Property LLC, purchased July 15, 2021, for $1.4 million sole member Emily Carter. She handed Dad a folder. Inside the deed of sale, the LLC registration, the lease agreement with his signature, and tonight's eviction notice. "This is the legal owner," Grant stated, showing them a printout of my driver's license. The 15 party guests had crowded behind Dad, phones out recording everything. The Carter family Christmas meltdown was going viral in real time. "But the foreclosure," Dad stammered. Yes, the property was foreclosed by First National Bank on July 8, 2021, due to unpaid debts totaling $400,000, gambling debts. According to the court records, Ms. Carter purchased it at auction a week later. "She knew." Nathan's voice cracked. "She knew we lost the house. She bought the house," Detective Grant corrected. "And according to this lease agreement, she's been letting you live here for $1 a year." Aunt Victoria gasped. $1? The same lease you violated tonight?" Grant continued, pulling up the video I'd sent, throwing her belongings outside. "Verbal abuse, threatening behavior, it's all here." Time-stamped 8:47 p.m. The phone videos multiplied. Every cousin, every aunt, every family friend was recording. The golden son and the proud father, exposed as freeloaders in a house they didn't own. "According to county records, you've been month-to-month tenants since 2021, Grant added, scrolling through her tablet. Ms. Carter has been paying all property taxes, insurance, and maintenance through Sapphire Property, LLC. Dad's legs seemed to give out. He grabbed the doorframe for support. 3 years, he whispered. 3 years in her house. This is fraud. Dad's denial came roaring back. She stole our house. She manipulated us. Detective Grant remained unmoved. Sir, she bought it legally from the bank. After it was foreclosed, I never lost the house to foreclosure. Grant pulled up another document. Case number 2021 FC4782. David Carter, defendant. Foreclosure granted for non-payment of mortgage due to gambling debts totaling $400,000, 3 casino liens, 2 private poker debts. It's all public record. The neighbors had started gathering. Mrs. Smith stood on her lawn, phone raised. Mr. Wilson from across the street. The Andersons from 2 doors down. Everyone watching David Carter's empire crumble. The $400,000 poker debt. Mrs. Smith called out. That's why you lost the house, David, and you let everyone think you were successful? Nathan tried damage control. This is a misunderstanding. Emily's confused. Sir, Grant cut him off. I've checked the database 3 times. Your sister legally owns this property. Has for 3 years. But she never said anything. According to the lease, she told you a private investor bought it. That investor was her LLC. Dad turned to Mom. Did you know about this? Mom's silence was answer enough. The bills stopped coming in 2021, David. No mortgage statements, no property tax notices, nothing. But the house stayed warm. The lights stayed on. Only Emily would protect us like that. You knew? I suspected. A mother knows who really pays the bills. The crowd grew larger. Someone had started a Facebook Live. Carter family evicted from daughter's house was already trending in local groups. Check again, Dad demanded desperately. There has to be a mistake. Sir, there's no mistake. You have 1 hour to collect your belongings. Nathan's phone rang, the Japanese investor. He answered with forced confidence, walking away from the crowd. Tanaka-san? Yes, just a small family matter. What? No, the house is well. It's technically not exactly ours. Everyone could hear the angry Japanese through the speaker. Nathan's face went white. The collateral. It's technically not exactly ours. The shouting intensified. Nathan held the phone away from his ear. Please, Tanaka-san, we can find other. The line went dead. Nathan stared at his phone like it had betrayed him. They pulled out, he said numbly. 2 million gone. He turned to me. I'd just arrived back at the property with Sophia. You destroyed my company. No, Nathan, I said calmly. You destroyed your company by lying about assets you didn't own. I just own the house you've been living in rent-free for 3 years. Rent-free? Uncle Michael exclaimed. But Nathan said he was paying $1 a year, Sophia interjected, holding up the lease. That's what Ms. Carter has been charging them while paying $8,500 a month in property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. The math was sinking in. 3 years, $8,500 a month, over $300,000 in carrying costs while they paid $3. She could have charged market rent, Sophia continued. This house would fetch $8,500 monthly easily. Instead, she protected them until tonight. Nathan's phone buzzed with notifications, email after email. The other investors, they're all pulling out. The news is everywhere. Someone showed their phone. The video had hit Reddit. Golden Child discovers sister owns his house. 50,000 upvotes in an hour. Tanaka-san terminated our partnership effective immediately, Nathan said, his voice hollow. My reputation, everything gone. Mom stepped forward, her voice clear for the first time all night. I knew David. Everyone turned to stare. The bills stopped coming in 2021. No mortgage statements, no property tax, no insurance notices. But somehow everything stayed paid. The refrigerator broke. It was fixed the next day. The roof leaked, repaired within a week. Only one person in this family actually takes care of things instead of just talking about it. She turned to me. I found the Sapphire Property LLC registration online 6 months ago. Your middle name is Sapphire, your grandmother's name. Dad's face was purple. You knew our daughter owned this house and said nothing. You threw our daughter out of her own house, David, while taking credit for money she sent, while praising Nathan for bills she paid, while calling her a disappointment when she's the only reason we're not homeless. The crowd was riveted. This was better than any Christmas special. Mom pulled something from her pocket. A thank you card. This is the one I never sent. It says, "Dear Emily, thank you for saving us. I know it's you. It's always been you." She looked at Nathan. Your sister paid for my hip surgery, my medications, the specialists, every single bill, while you took credit and bought yourself a Tesla with investor money. Then back to Dad. She protected us, even when you gambled away our home, even when you insulted her, even when you loved the idea of a successful son more than the reality of a successful daughter. Mom walked over to me. I'm sorry, Emily, for staying silent, for letting them hurt you, for being too weak to stand up, for the only child who actually stood up for us. You have 1 hour to pack essentials, Detective Grant announced. Personal items only. Furniture stays. It belongs to the property owner. The furniture is ours, Dad protested. Sophia pulled out receipts. Actually, all furniture was purchased by Sapphire Property LLC in 2021, after the foreclosure. Ms. Carter furnished the entire house. You've been using her furniture, her appliances, everything. The crowd had grown to 30 people. Someone had started an Instagram Live. Carter family evicted from daughter's house was the caption. Views climbed 10K, 50K, 100K. Mrs. Smith called out, David, is this why you've been acting so high and mighty, living in your daughter's house while calling her a failure? The family members who'd been celebrating my exile were now edging toward their cars. Aunt Victoria tried to slip away unnoticed. Victoria, I called out, weren't you just calling me selfish? She froze, her face red. The cameras turned to her. Uncle Michael was already at his car. Cousin Jason had vanished entirely. The 15 witnesses to my humiliation were fleeing the scene of their own embarrassment. Officers, Sophia said, will need to ensure nothing is removed that belongs to the property. I have an inventory. Detective Grant nodded. We'll supervise the packing. Dad stood in his doorway, my doorway, looking broken. 3 years of living in his daughter's charity while boasting about his success. 3 years of praising his son for money his daughter sent. 3 years of delusion shattered in 15 minutes. The Portland Tribune ran the headline, Daughter's Christmas Revenge Exposes Family Fraud. Nathan lost more than the Japanese deal. 3 days later, his startup's board voted him out. Credibility issues, they cited. His LinkedIn went from CEO and founder to seeking new opportunities. Nobody was offering. Dad's former colleagues from the bank reached out, not to support, but to distance themselves. The country club revoked his membership. Financial irregularities was the official reason. The real reason? Nobody wanted to associate with a man who'd lost his house gambling, then lived off his daughter while calling her a failure. The numbers were brutal but precise. Nathan's lost deals, $2 million confirmed, $5 million projected. Dad's country club refund, $0. Membership non-refundable. Family reputation, 2 million people knew the truth. Rent collected in January, $8,500, paid in full on time. Mom started therapy. She sent me a text. Learning to use my voice. Should have done it 30 years ago. I didn't respond. Tenants and landlords don't need personal relationships. The neighborhood dynamic shifted completely. Mrs. Smith brought me cookies for the best Christmas gift our street ever got. Watching David get his comeuppance. Mr. Wilson offered to testify if they ever challenged the eviction. I've got doorbell footage of him throwing your gifts just in case. But the best metric, the first rent payment, January 1st, 9 a.m. sharp. $8,500 transferred to Sapphire Property LLC. Memo line, January rent tenants, not mom and dad, not parents' tenants. The power structure had permanently shifted. I didn't let the money sit idle. Every dollar of rent went straight to the Sapphire Foundation, established January 15, 2025. Mission: fund STEM education for young women from difficult family situations. Women who were told they weren't enough. Women whose achievements were ignored. Women who needed someone to believe in them when their families wouldn't. The first scholarship recipients were announced in March. Sarah Kim, 17, computer science major. Parents told her coding is for boys. Isabella Martinez, 20, engineering student. Family wanted her to marry instead of study. Brooke Davis, 18, architecture major. Father said, women can't design buildings. Hannah Taylor, 16, mathematics prodigy. Brother got the college fund. Mia Chen, 19, physics major. Parents only celebrated her brother's B's while ignoring her A's. Each received $20,000 funded by the people who'd called me selfish. Oregon State University became our partner. They featured the foundation in their newsletter. Local architect transforms family rejection into educational opportunity. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Nathan, who'd claimed to be changing the world with his startup, was unemployed. I, the disappointment, was actually changing lives. The foundation's website included one line that went viral, funded by rent from the family who said I was worthless. By June, we'd raised additional funds. Tech companies loved the story. Microsoft donated $100,000. Amazon matched it. The girl who was just drawing buildings or something had built something that mattered. The fifth scholarship went to a young woman whose father had gambled away her college fund. She was studying architecture. Her essay began, I want to build homes for people who've never had one. I cried reading that. Then I doubled her scholarship. May 2025. Nathan sent an email, 5 pages of apology, self-reflection, and desperation. I've lost everything. My company, reputation, friends, even my girlfriend left. She saw the video everyone saw. The video, I need my sister back. I responded with one line. Rent is due on the 1st. Father's Day came with a card, slipped under my door. To my successful daughter, it read, I was wrong. Can we start over? I returned it with a note. Please use the proper channels. All tenant communications go through the property manager. Mom tried a different approach. Coffee invitations every Wednesday. Just to talk. Not as tenant and landlord. As mother and daughter. I don't have coffee with tenants, I replied. It's inappropriate. They'd wanted me out of the family. They got their wish. Now they had a landlord instead of a daughter. The boundaries were ironclad. No family dinners, no holiday visits, no personal conversations, no exceptions. You're being cruel, Aunt Victoria messaged me. I'm being professional, I responded. They wanted me gone. I'm gone. The family tried group intervention. 15 relatives signed a letter asking me to forgive and forget. Sophia responded on my behalf. Ms. Carter maintains professional relationships with all tenants. Personal matters are not applicable to this business arrangement. Nathan got a job eventually, Starbucks barista. The golden child who was going to revolutionize marketing was making lattes for $15 an hour. His LinkedIn still hurt to look at, from 500 plus connections to 47. Dad started working too, Walmart greeter. The banking executive who'd thrown his daughter out on Christmas Eve was saying, "Welcome to Walmart to survive." Tenants and landlord only, I reminded them when they tried to share their struggles. Professional, distant, exactly what they'd made me. 11 months later, I sit in my downtown condo, reviewing November's rent payment. On time, as always, they learned quickly that late payments meant late fees. The Christmas Eve eviction changed everything, not just for them, but for me. I went from people pleaser to boundary setter, from invisible daughter to visible success, from family scapegoat to family landlord. The house on Pine Street stands as a monument to transformation. What was once my prison became my property. What was once their castle became their rental. I don't regret the eviction. I don't regret the exposure. I don't regret the boundaries. Some might say I'm cold. I prefer clear. The family dynamics are forever altered. There's no warmth, no connection, no relationship. But there's also no abuse, no gaslighting, no theft of credit. It's a fair trade. I found my real family elsewhere. Sophia, who became more than my lawyer, she became my friend. Mrs. Smith, who invites me for Sunday dinners where I'm celebrated, not tolerated. My colleagues who knew my worth before my family ever did. The scholarship recipients who send updates about their grades, their dreams, their determination to never be invisible again. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family. The people who threw me out in the snow weren't family. They were relatives who happened to live in my house. The Sapphire Foundation continues growing. We've funded 20 women so far. Each one reminds me why boundaries matter. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help others while being drained by those who should protect you. This Christmas Eve, 1 year later, I'll host dinner for the scholarship recipients. Women who were told they weren't enough. Celebrating with someone who proved that being enough was never the question. The question was whether the people judging you were worth impressing. They weren't. So here's my advice. Learned through 3 years of secret ownership and 1 night of public revelation. Document everything. Every payment, every insult, every contribution ignored. Not for revenge, but for protection. My bank statements from 8 years saved me. The video from Christmas Eve validated me. The property deed empowered me. Your worth isn't determined by family approval. I made $180,000 a year, designed buildings that will stand for centuries, and still wasn't enough for them. You know what? Their opinion became irrelevant the moment I realized I was the one keeping them afloat. Sometimes the best gift is distance. They wanted me gone. I gave them exactly that. Now they have a professional landlord instead of a daughter they could abuse. Everyone got what they asked for. Set boundaries like your life depends on it because it does. The mutual respect clause wasn't cruel. It was necessary. Respect isn't optional. It's the minimum requirement for any relationship, blood or otherwise. Don't hide your success to make others comfortable. I hid my house ownership for 3 years to protect their pride. It only enabled their delusions. Truth has a way of surfacing, and it's better to control that revelation than let it explode. Current status: I made partner at my firm, $250,000 salary designing the new Portland Riverfront project. The Sapphire Foundation has $500,000 in funding committed for next year. And every month I collect rent from people who said I was nothing. The house was never about revenge. It was about finally choosing myself. About stopping the cycle of giving to people who only knew how to take. About proving that the family disappointment was actually the family foundation. They wanted me out of their house. Turns out they were never in theirs. Sometimes the best Christmas gift you can give yourself is freedom. And sometimes that freedom comes with an eviction notice. If my story resonated with you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to set boundaries with toxic family. Comment below. What boundaries do you wish you could set? And remember, sometimes the best Christmas gift you can give yourself is freedom. I'm Emily Carter, and this was my story.